And I want to start with deal champions and multi-threading in particular. I think it's something that people universally still do badly, actually. How do you confirm you have a deal champion in a cycle?
It's a tried and true method. When it comes to thinking you have a champion, there is only one way to know if they really are a champion for you. You have to test them. And the way that you test them is asking them to take you to the executive buyer. Now, that can result in two things. One, they have the power and influence to be able to take you to the EB. Typically, that's a CFO, especially today. If they have the power and influence to do it, and they're willing to take you there and help present with you, you need to be in that meeting on your behalf. They're selling internally. You've got a champion. If they say no to you for whatever reason, it means one of two things. Either they don't have the power and influence to take you to the executive buyer, in which case you're dealing with a coach or just a stakeholder in the organization who really is not going to be meaningfully important for you, or you haven't earned the right yet to have them take you to that CFO or to that EB, in which case you have more selling to do.
Can I ask, what is the right way to ask without seeming slimy or like you're asking for too much?
You need to set that expectation from the start. Literally in the first meeting where I walk through a pitch deck, I share with them why we exist, what we're solving for, and what it's like to be working with us. From everything from implementation and onboarding to, hey, part of our sales process is we're going to want to have an open dialogue between your executive team and our executive team. This is not a typical vendor-customer relationship, but it's a partnership. And so we want to make sure there's that open dialogue so that what your CFO cares about, our CEO listens to.
Do they want partnerships? I know that seems stupid, but CFOs are underwater right now, managing books, trying to find runway wherever they can, whether it's early stage or growth or, later stage companies and public companies. Do they want partnerships or do they just want you to do your fucking job?
I think it depends on the tool or service or platform they're buying. In the case of what I do at Ramp, we're literally selling a platform that provides financial automation for the office of the CFO. They care pretty deeply about that because it actually affects their bottom line. We're driving cost savings and time savings for them. I think if you have a tool or a solution that you're selling that is maybe less meaningful for them, you need to figure out how you're tying to value. And if you're ultimately able to tie to the most important value to them, they're going to listen.
When's the right time in the deal cycle to ask to go to the executive buyer? Because you don't want to do it too soon where it's like, whoa, we've just met Mark and I'm not quite ready for that. But then you don't want to do it too late. When's that time?
It's different in every deal. If you are doing a transactional sale, obviously that's going to happen a lot earlier in the process than in a large, complex global enterprise deal. You need to be able to get to the executive buyer. There's a lot of different ways you can get there too. It's not just through a champion. You can leverage your network. You can leverage your board members. You can leverage your executive team to back channel into that executive. You want to be able to get there and understand what they care about. Listen to the YouTube videos they've posted. Listen to when they joined you, Harry, on your podcast, right? All of these are going to provide you insight and information that's going to allow you to be more effective in asking for that meeting. In an enterprise deal, typically you want to be able to get some kind of a business value assessment where you're agreeing on what the value is that we can provide for an organization. And at that point, you're going to go with your champion and present those findings to the CFO or to the executive buyer.
What should you provide your champion to make sure that they're equipped to sell your case best to the executive buyer on your behalf, but when you're not there?
The phrasing of that question scares the shit out of me, Harry. And the reason why is that you need to be in that meeting. There is not a world that I would ever be comfortable living in where I want to outsource my job to a champion at a prospect. That is living very dangerously on the edge. I know a lot of salespeople who will take, completely wholesale what a champion says. Hey, my CFO doesn't meet with anybody. My CFO is too busy. I will be the one to talk to them on your behalf. No, 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 no. We can't have that, because what happens when the CFO asks you that question, Mr. or Mrs. Champion, that you don't know the answer to? What happens when they question these numbers, or they ask about implementation, or have you talked to these different stakeholders and you don't know the answer? We have to be in that room with you.
Yeah, Mark, what a terrible question. Gosh. Silly. No, I thank you for clarifying that. And by the way, do ridicule any questions. I love this. You mentioned kind of the importance of multi-threading there and bringing in the executive buyer. It's important that sales reps and sales teams see around corners. What are some ways that sales reps can get better at seeing around corners during a deal cycle?
I think that a lot of people tend to wear rose-colored glasses. They get happy ears, as I mentioned before. People are meeting with them. They're excited. Rose-colored glasses people are great fun at parties, but they make for shit sellers. You need someone who is a lot more skeptical, who questions everything. The way that you see around corners is you ask the hard questions. You run toward the danger and what scares you, not away from it. So, Harry, what are the reasons why you're going to lose this deal? What happens if your champion leaves? What happens if the CFO says this, that, or the other? If you ask yourself all of these questions and any possible way you could potentially lose this deal, well, now you have a map of all of the things that you potentially need to overcome. And in a worst case, you're overcoming objections that might not actually take place. And in the best case, you're really prepared for when that punch inevitably comes.